Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke in the Rajya Sabha today after his speech yesterday in the Lok Sabha. And just like in the lower house, in the House of Elders too, the Prime Minister was heckled, hollered at and shouted down. And eventually, the opposition walked out of the Rajya Sabha. The question is, yes, it is certainly the job of the opposition to hold the government to account. And it is no one's case that an opposition at 234 MPs should not be holding the government of the day accountable on every single issue. No doubt about it, no quibble about it. But the question is the heckling, sloganeering and drowning out of the Prime Minister the best way to hold the government accountable? Or is the opposition, which has got 234 MPs, wasting its political capital by indulging in this kind of behavior? And it's not like the government can go scot-free either. The question to the government is, there is a mandate 2024. The BJP is not at 303. The BJP is at 240. And the message of that mandate is, from the Indian voter, that the opposition's voice too needs to be heard, and it does not need to be browbeaten. So the question is, who is crossing the line, and is there really a way out of this gridlock? Because if there isn't, then this is going to be the pattern for the next 5 years. This is going to be the pattern of the 18th Lok Sabha.
कांग्रेस के हमारे कुछ साथियों को मैं हृदय से धन्यवाद करना चाहता हूं। उन्होंने बार बार ढोल पिटा था, 1/3 सरकार। इससे बड़ा सत्य क्या हो सकता है कि हमारे 10 साल हुए हैं, 20 और बाकी है। 1/3 हुआ है, 1/3 हुआ है, 2/3 बाकी। हमारे कांग्रेस के लोग भी खुशी में मगन हैं। मैं समझ नहीं पाता हूं कि ये खुशी का कारण क्या है, और इस पर कई सवाल हैं। क्या ये खुशी हार की हैट्रिक पर है? इमरजेंसी के दौरान संविधान पर जो जुल्म हुआ, जो बुलडोजर चलाया गया संविधान के ऊपर, लोकतंत्र की धज्जियां उड़ा दी गई। उन्होंने उठाए हुए सवालों के जवाब भी सुनने की हिम्मत नहीं है। इन्होंने ये अपर हाउस को अपमानित कर रहे हैं। इस अपर हाउस की महान परंपरा को अपमानित कर रहे हैं।
उन्होंने मौका नहीं दिया और इसलिए मैं कंडम करता हूं। हम सभी लोग कंडम करते हैं और कंडम करके हम वॉकआउट किए।
आज उन्होंने मुझे पीठ नहीं दिखाई है, भारतीय संविधान को पीठ दिखाई है। आज उन्होंने मेरा अनादर और आपका अनादर नहीं किया है, उस शपथ का अनादर किया है जो संविधान के तहत ली है।
All right, so who crossed the line? Is it the I.N.D.I.A Bloc, or should the government be seen as going out of its way to reach out to the opposition in keeping with Mandate 2024? Tom Vadakan is National Spokesperson of the BJP. Dr. Shama Mohammed is National Spokesperson of the Congress Party. Shantanu Gupta, author, is joining us. Ghanshyam Tiwari, National Spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party, also joining us. Let me start with Dr. Shama Mohammed. Surely it is no one's case, Dr. Shama Mohammed, that the opposition, and particularly at 234 MPs, the I.N.D.I.A Bloc is well within its right to question the government, to hold the government of the day to account, to keep it in check. But is the best way to do that to holler, heckle and to shout out, to drown out the Prime Minister while he's speaking yesterday in the Lok Sabha and today in the Rajya Sabha?
Okay, so Zaka, you must have not remembered 2010 when Sushma Swaraj in fact called Manmohan Singh Chor inside the parliament. I will not forget that. We remember what happened during the 2G. But let's also understand during that time, the parliamentary affairs minister, since we were the government at that time, It is our duty to see to it that the parliament runs. So we would go to the opposition. Now, how did this session start? The session started with the Speaker of the Lok Sabha starting off with emergency. Now, does the Speaker belong to any party? Why did he start off with emergency, which we did not need to take up right now? We have very important issues like Manipur, NEET, etc. But he got in the emergency. Now, today what happened? I remember when Rahulji was speaking the other day, the Prime Minister of India had interrupted and multiple ministers had interrupted. Om Birla allowed it. Now, today what happened in the Rajya Sabha was when the Prime Minister was speaking, he said the Congress party is against the Constitution of India. Leader of opposition, Mallikarjun Kharge ji, requested multiple times the speaker that please allow me to speak because I cannot allow this to happen. You know, that we are supposed to be against the Constitution. Because if you look at how the Constitution is, what is unconstitutional is all what the present government has done. Now, Mr. Modi can hold the Constitution at his heart and say, I follow it. But we all know what is Article 15 and Article 14. Article 14, of course, is right to equality for everybody with laws of this country. And Article 15 about equality of practicing one's religion and no discrimination. But what has been happening? Recently, we've seen houses bulldozed in Madhya Pradesh of a certain particular community of the Muslims because they say they have beef. How is Article 14 that time instilled?
No, Dr. Shama Mohammed, all of these are valid issues. Nobody is saying you don't have a right to raise any of these issues. By all means, please raise every one of these issues, and I'm with you. If NEET is such a pressing issue, such a burning issue, the government of the day should have gone out of its way to accommodate the opposition's demand to have an extra day to debate NEET. I'm with you on that. My simple question and submission to you is this. How is hollering at the Prime Minister, heckling him, and I'm sad to say this, the leader of the opposition, and we can show those pictures, was seen egging on his parliamentary colleagues to go out to the well of the House and to holler at the Prime Minister and to shout him down and to drown out his voice. How is that parliamentary or how is that democratic?
I'll tell you, when democracy has been not followed for the last 10 years, when 99 members of parliament were suspended because they questioned how the parliament breach happened, then another 146 was suspended. The same man has been made the speaker. That was completely unconstitutional. And they passed bills during that time, especially the CRPC bill, which is now called, I don't know, some Hindi names are there for it. So those, the N.D.I.A Samiti bills were passed at that point of time. So what we need to understand is that we will not allow that to happen again.
So your antidote to all of this is to rush to the well of the House, to outshout the Prime Minister. That is your democratic response to what you are saying, no democracy in the last 10 years. Okay. Let me ask Tom Vadakan. One second. Let me ask Tom Vadakan. Once again. Let me go to Tom Vadakan. Tom Vadakan, let's be very clear about Mandate 2024, Tom Vadakan. BJP is not at 303. BJP is at 240. And the message from the Indian voter is it cannot be business as usual. It cannot be like how it was in the 17th Lok Sabha or the 16th Lok Sabha. The 17th Lok Sabha incidentally has the infamous track record of having the least number of bills referred to a parliamentary standing committee. You cannot bulldoze your way through parliament is the message from the Indian voter. Unfortunately, from the 3 days of parliament that we've seen so far, you don't seem to have learnt that lesson. That's what the opposition is accusing you of.
Well, the opposition accusation against the government of the day is based on a certain myth. And the myth is that we are not encouraging democratic practices at the House. The reality is they came with the discussion. There was a senior leader, Rajnath Singh ji, approached Kharge ji for the speaker's issue to have a consensus. Well, Kharge ji said you can't separate these things about a deputy speaker and the deputy speaker must be from the opposition. You have to settle the first issue of a speaker. And instead of that, you have a gunpoint demand that deputy speaker must be from your cadre. Now, if that is the beginning and that is the kind of attitude the Congress-led I.N.D.I.A alliance is going to have, there's a huge problem. And that problem is it's not about business being as usual. It is business being unusual. you have a LOP who's all the time heckling the Prime Minister, asking his party colleagues who are not ready to go out there to the well. You have visuals. The candid camera does not lie, Zaka. And the fact of the matter is, many of them are hesitant. And here's this man prompting them to go there, create a ruckus. Discussions can be had. They were raised a lot of questions, and those questions were answered. They were answered at appropriate stage earlier too. But then also they walked out in the last session. Manipur was spoken about. Now a detailed report has been given on Manipur. An explanation of NEET has come. But who is listening? They want to give bites outside Parliament because they think that's where the grabbing headline is all about. What is NEET essentially? It is a centralized examination meant that all colleges have a centralized examination system. And this was introduced by whom? The Congress party. There has been problems and the education minister has admitted it. There has to be a course correction. This is about the youth of this country. And if the youth, you all in the opposition party and the ruling party, we sit together, we have a kind of a consensus on this issue instead of politicizing it. And
but shouldn't questions be asked of the government of the day? You are the government of the day. The onus is on you to conduct that exam. There have been glaring lapses in that exam. The opposition has been asking for an extra day to discuss NEET, and their claim is that the government is not willing to concede that. See, what they are saying is you have to reach out across the aisle to them, to their demands, for them to let the House function. If you do not respect their demands, they will not let the House function. You could call it blackmail, but you could also look at it the other way. This is how parliamentary democracy functions. This is give and take.
There are other exams that are conducted by the Government of India, Union Public Service Commission, the UPSC, the IAS, the civil services. There's been no problem at all. The capitation lobby is fully active. Let me get this down to earth. The capitation lobby, which was against NEET, has got into an operation. Now, where all they have done damages, and that needs course correction. A CBI inquiry has been ordered, and we do hope and pray that the investigation will find its
I want to come back to the issue at hand, which is the manner in which Parliament has functioned over the last 2 days, particularly when the Prime Minister was speaking first in the Lok Sabha yesterday and today in the Rajya Sabha. Ghanshyam Tiwari, I come back to that whole point. There is a certain political capital that the voter of India has given to the opposition, no doubt about it. I'm very clear in my mind that the message of Mandate 2024 is that the opposition's voice needs to be heard in Parliament, and that the opposition's job, which is to hold the government of the day accountable, needs to be taken seriously by both the government and by the opposition. But, Ghanshyam Tiwari, I go back to this. You have a leader of the opposition who's sitting there egging his colleagues, who Tom says is reluctant. I can't tell from the pictures whether they're reluctant or not, but clearly he's egging those colleagues to go down to the well, to heckle, to holler, to shout out the Prime Minister. Is this the best use of your political capital that you've got with 234 MPs in Mandate 2024?
Zaka, to you, the viewers and fellow co-panelists, there are three things that stand out in this situation. One is that the current strength of opposition has emerged through a very strong voice on the ground to remind this government their duty towards youth, towards farmers, towards women, towards students, towards Manipur, towards the constitution that this government has forgotten. In the current sessions, whether it is Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, in the address of the Prime Minister clearly did not show any interest in addressing the importance of these issues that face the nation. Instead, he used the speech to speak at length about emergency. He used the speech to do statistical analysis of his party versus Congress's performance. He used the speech to take jibes at opposition. Really, he could not set the agenda for the nation as the agenda that we see in next 5 years. We understand the nature of Parliament in the leadership of the Prime Minister. The nature of Parliament is visible in the last 10 years. When number of sittings in the Parliament is less than the number of Sundays, Prime Minister rarely speaks in the Parliament. The statistics say in a year, on an average, he's spoken 3 or 4 times. The Speaker of Lok Sabha, especially, is now infamous for suspending members of Parliament, for rudely objecting to members of opposition benches, for switching off mic, or for switching around cameras, to the extent that now members are watchful, opposition members are watchful, that whether what they are speaking is visible on television or the speaker's face is visible on the phone. It is the run-up with all these issues that led to the frustration of opposition members to ensure that when the Prime Minister speaks, he hears loud and clear the voice of Indian democracy. Because in his current conduct, he is not hearing that. Even today in Rajya Sabha, my final point, Rajya Sabha, the Prime Minister stated, and I'm quoting from the PMO website, he stated the mandate is wholeheartedly in the favor of his government. Any basic read of this mandate will tell you that if they had not misused Election Commission and systems at their hand, they would have been sitting in opposition. So by the Prime Minister standing up and saying that the world has valued the largest election that India conducted and mandate is wholeheartedly in our favor, is a complete misread of the mandate.
Okay, Shantanu Gupta, a lot of the focus of opposition leaders, Rahul Gandhi and other opposition leaders who spoke, and of course the Prime Minister also when he spoke yesterday and today, has been on the Constitution. And the reason for this is because the Constitution and Samvidhan Badal Denge became a big talking point in the campaign. It became one of the very serious issues for which, including in Uttar Pradesh, which you very closely track, whether rightfully or wrongfully, it could have been a falsehood, it could have been a rumor, but you know, politics is about half-truths and rumors. Fact is that a substantial chunk of lower caste vote, Dalit votes, etc., went away from the BJP on the fear that Samvidhan Badal Denge. Today, the Prime Minister said it is the Congress that opposed the Samvidhan Divas. It is the Congress that bulldozed the Constitution in 1975. That it is actually elections in 1977 that saved the Constitution. The opposition today can say the exact same thing, that it's actually mandate 2024 that saved the Constitution. Because otherwise, if Mr. Modi had got Mission 400 Par and 370, he would have changed the Constitution. So they can use the same argument that the Prime Minister is using.
See, Zaka, if you see in 16th and 17th Lok Sabha, just see the engagement of these so-called star politicians from the I.N.D.I.A Alliance in the parliament, right? Let's say someone like Rahul Gandhi, his attendance in 16th and 17th Parliament is 45%, 50%. Attendance of Akhilesh Yadav is 33%. In fact, in winter session, Akhilesh Yadav did not even show up, right? He was like 10%, 15%. Abhishek Banerjee, whole of the Parliament, whole of 17th Lok Sabha, 13%. If you see the number of questions they asked, debate, private member bill, they don't even know, I think there is an instrument called private member bill. So this was their engagement with the institution of democracy in 16th and 17th Parliament. Now, with those fake videos of Amit Shah, with the theory of Samvidhan Badal Denge, now they came with the third worst performance of Congress, right? And now they started this parliament with heckling, hooliganism, walking out, breaking rules, showing back constantly to the chair, playing victim card, mera mic band ho gaya, mujhe screen pe nahi dikhaya, all of that, right? And shouting Prime Minister down, right? And in fact, yesterday they should have shown how Rahul Gandhi was running the hooliganism. In fact, Gaurav Gogoi, poor guy, was like pulling guys who were hesitant to come to the well, senior members, that no, you have to heckle. If you have to be a part of my party, you have to heckle. And he was gathering people. A lot of people were not even ready, even the Prime Minister was giving them water. And Zaka, you said they're 234. They are not 234. So when on the emergency resolution, DMK did not stand up, TMC did not stand up, and Samajwadi Party did not stand up, right? And if you count all of them, there are more than 90 members. So that's why they did not ask for the division of votes, because the day the division of votes is asked, it will come on the digital screen. And the number is not more than 160, 170. The 60 seats in 2024, they fought against each other. And let's say, I'll give you one example, right? People say, oh, no, democracy was bulldozed and bills were passed. Let's say about BNS. The name is BNS, is a Hindi name called Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. You know, Amit Shah did almost 158 consultation, 158. With whom? With Member of Parliament, with Chief Minister, with CGI, with CGs of HCs, IPS officers and collectors, right? It went to the Parliamentary Committee. It remained there for 2.5 months, right? Where P. Chidambaram, where Derek O'Brien was a member of that committee. and 93 changes were made, 95% recommendation were accepted. And they come out and say, humse to baat hi nahi hui. Similarly happened with GST. You know, in every GST council, none of the elements were voted, right? And every finance minister or every state was there. When they come out, it's a Gabbar Singh tax, right? So I think this hooliganism worked little bit for them, and now they will carry on, and that's the danger. They will sit inside the meetings, they will say something, they will sign, they will come out, democracy khatre mein hai, Gabbar Singh tax. I think that's the maybe the flavor, but I doubt people will like this flavor for very long.
You and your party, and particularly, for example, Mr. Jairam Ramesh, who is the communications in charge, every tweet when he refers to the Prime Minister, he says, "1/3 Pradhan Mantri." Today, the Prime Minister responded to that by saying that what is the Congress so celebrating, because this is your third worst defeat in the history of parliamentary democracy in this country. If you can say 1/3 Pradhan Mantri, then isn't he within his right to say that this is your third worst defeat, which is a fact. There's nothing unfactual about it.
Okay, can you give me uninterrupted time like you've given the rest of them? Because
I've given everybody uninterrupted time, including you, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay, now...
see the victim card. See the victim card. Very interesting.
No, let us speak. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, now Shantanu comes here and says about the discussion which happened in the committees, and he was looking at some paper and reading out the lies of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Now let me correct him. There was no such discussion happened. He's lying over here, just like the farm bills. What did they say when the black farm laws were passed? They said the discussion happened with every organization of the farmers, every other organization, including their partner, their political partner in the Akalis in Punjab. Now, when was, a right to information report came out and said from the Agricultural Ministry, it clearly says it came out in September, and it said 2020, it clearly says that no discussion happened with any farmer organization. No political party was involved in the discussion, and ordinance was passed. So the truth comes out when you file an RTI, not when people like Shantanu comes on air and comes out and lie after lie and lie. We are not going to believe these lies. And that law was passed when multiple members of parliament were suspended. One. Number two, he speaks about Rahul Gandhi's attendance. Rahul Gandhi has attended enough of parliament. I want to ask you about the Prime Minister of India's attendance. Does he even listen to the opposition? I remember the Prime Minister the last 10 years would walk in. When he has to make a speech, he would read the speech. I would watch the whole thing and he would walk out. I remember Manmohan Singh for 2G sitting and listening to the opposition. What are the issues, wherever it is? And I also remember when Augusta Western happened, when the opposition said there is a problem, a probe happened. 2G, there is a problem, resignation, arresting of Raja, probe happening. Commonwealth Games, resignations from our ministers, arrest, probe happening. This is our government. Nirbhaya, we brought in the Nirbhaya Act when you all protested out there. What did Prime Minister do for Manipur? Manipur is still burning. He has not even visited. He goes abroad multiple times. He does not visit Manipur. He spoke about Manipur in the last session, 5 seconds or 1 minute. And we are asking him, the members of Parliament of Manipur, why can't he take an all-party committee to Manipur and discuss the issue?
But he spoke today. He spoke elaborately about Manipur, but you were not there. You walked out by then.
He spoke after he's pushed and prodded. Why should it happen, Zaka? It's been more than a year. It is his duty to see to it that Manipur is all right before this. Why should the opposition prod him to speak? Now he speaks, he talks about various issues when the wrestlers were asking for justice last 6 months. Nothing happened. That man is still there. The perpetrator is still part of the party. Of course, he was not given a ticket, but his son was given the ticket. But he was not asked to step down or any of these things.
So, can I ask you a question? Okay, you've put out a litany of charges. You've put out a litany of charges against the Prime Minister. Can I just play that video?
One last point about the Constitution.
Okay,
when he
10
speaks
seconds.
About the Constitution, about discrimination, I'm a Muslim. He called me a Guspetia. He said, we come into this country, take away the wealth of the wealth of the Hindus. Then he says that, the Congress party takes Mangal Sutra and gives it to the Muslims. Congress party takes Behaz, gives it to the Muslims. Congress party changes laws for the Muslims. Now, isn't that against Article 50 of the Constitution?
The people of India, through their vote have responded to that. The people of India have responded to that through their vote. Now, can I ask you a question? Ma'am, please. Now, I've given you enough time. Let me play out that video of Rahul Gandhi, which did not, by the way, was not captured on Sansad TV cameras. This came out today.
was the Sansad TV not
Somebody
showing?
caught it
Why
on
is
mobile
Sansad
phone.
TV
It was
not
put out.
showing?
Will you please allow me 10 seconds to ask my question?
Sansad
Please,
TV not
please,
showing? Who's
please
showing?
allow me 10 seconds, ma'am, to ask my question. Mr. Gandhi, rightfully so, is now the elected leader of the opposition in the House. Please tell me, is it becoming of a leader of the opposition to be egging on his colleagues to rush to the well of the House, to heckle the Prime Minister, to holler those two Manipur MPs? They're standing there by the opposition benches. It is the leader of the opposition who asks Mr. Gaurav Gogoi to drag them to the well of the House.
Yeah,
Is
you are there.
this
Yeah,
becoming conduct of someone who is the leader of the opposition? Please answer.
You can't, Zaka, I'm sorry, you can't make stories up. I don't see anything of that in this video. You can just, and first and foremost, why is Sansad TV not putting up these videos? Why is the Bharatiya Janata government putting out videos on Navika Kumar or some anchor is tweeting these videos? I want to know why is Sansad TV not putting out these videos? Then some reporter puts it because they want to find some reason to come at the opposition. I don't see any heckling by my leader.
Look, I'm not the spokesperson of Sansad TV, so I don't know why you're asking me that question. But fair question. But the footage is there for our viewers to see. Let the viewers decide if the leader of the opposition, Mr. Gandhi, is egging his colleagues to go where perhaps they are reluctantly going. I leave it to the judgment of our viewers. From the pictures, yes.
Rahul Gandhi said it the first day when he spoke, as the leader of opposition, I don't want any confrontation. I want to make your job easy to the Prime Minister of India. That's what he said. And that's what we want. That is what we want, fair discussion on issues. We want a discussion on NEET. We want a discussion on Manipur because NEET is about our children. And paper leaks are happening multiple times, around more than 272 paper leaks in the last 5 years. So we want to talk about real issues. But the Prime Minister of India comes and talks about
the opposition wants to talk about real issues. You couldn't give them a day to debate on NEET. There were two MPs from Manipur. One of them spoke post-midnight the previous day. God even knows who was listening to him at that time. The second MP, the opposition alleges, was not even given time to speak. They wanted him to speak while the Prime Minister was in the House. The government could have well conceded that. They could have given 5 minutes of time for the second MP from Manipur to speak. When that was disallowed by the chair is when the opposition rushed to the well of the House. Tom.
Well, that's an interesting tale that is being worked out. The protocol in the House is followed by a certain procedure. It is not as if that anybody who stands up is allowed to speak. Each party has been allotted its time. So when the turn comes, he has to speak, whether it's 12 o'clock in the midnight or 1 o'clock at 1 a.m. in the morning. The procedure will be followed. If somebody is asked to speak before him or after him, the procedure is strictly followed, and that the Secretary General of the Lok Sabha follows it like as in the rule book. So that is no reason.
Is it your suggestion that Manipur, which has been burning for the better part of a year, even the RSS chief has spoken about it, one of the two MPs elected from Manipur is given time post-midnight?
It is not a time that they ask for. It is the time allocated to each party or what they represent. It is a procedural issue. It is not something that PMO calls up and says, don't give them time. It doesn't work that way. That is not how we work. This is how the Congress works. They do this manipulation. They were ready with this entire thing of having the House, asking these people to work, MPs to come into the well, asking them to protest, dragging. If they were so enthusiastic, they would have come on their own.
Sir, Ghanshyam, no heckling, Shama Mohammed. No, this is not Parliament. This is brass tacks. We don't do heckling on this show. I'm going to Ghanshyam Tiwari. Please put Ghanshyam Tiwari on the frame. Ghanshyam Tiwari, it is said, again, these pictures have not been put out by Sansad TV. I can't even tell from the distance if Samajwadi Party MPs were rushing to the well of the House like their Congress colleagues were. There is a suggestion from some quarters that Samajwadi Party MPs did not go there, TMC MPs did not go there. Is that the case? Is it just one party and its leader egging on his colleagues to go, as opposed to the India Alliance and the rest of your parties, including your party, being reluctant to do that?
Zaga, two quick points. One, at 9:07 p.m. yesterday, Rajiv Rai, fellow Samajwadi Party spokesperson, as well as a member of parliament, he tweeted, today in Lok Sabha, this is yesterday, I experienced how the voice of opposition is suppressed. There were about 25 minutes left of the limit set for Samajwadi Party. I was the next speaker. BJP's Manoj Tiwari was speaking, and suddenly the Prime Minister arrives. Manoj Tiwari was allowed to speak, but immediately after that, we were not allowed to speak. This is a member of parliament speaking. When you suppress even in this allocated time, when you suppress the voice of the parliamentarians, because a man who believes himself as demigod and others believe him as emperor walks in, the BJP parliamentarians drown the voice of everybody. You show these visuals, show the visuals when the Prime Minister of India walks in and BJP MPs are standing and shouting Modi, Modi, Modi. What business? Is this a rally? Is Modi prakat ho rahe hain wo? Is it avatar who's now suddenly got an incarnation? What business do they have? First of all, this is a motion of thanks to the President. Prime Minister has to be present. Rather than create this tamasha that the Prime Minister walks in at an appointed time and BJP people stand up, members of parliament, and start shouting Modi, Modi, Modi. And then you come here and you say, oh, this leaked video, that leaked video, BJP spokesperson, and their chamchas on various media channels, they come here and say that, look, we are putting out this videos unconfirmed from Sansad TV, where we will create a story out of it. We have seen this election mandate as a spokesperson, responsible spokesperson. I want to say that the BJP chamchas in the media, I want to tell them that this mandate is also a rejection of their politics on behalf of BJP. Sansad TV is the official video. If BJP has an objection, let the speaker put it officially.
Okay. Shantanu Gupta, I'll give you the final word because
it is good.
I have to wrap up after this. I'm down to the last minute. The opposition's contention is if the government wanted to meet them halfway, wanted to extend an olive branch and say, okay, let's press the reset button. Clearly, the composition of the 18th Lok Sabha is different from the composition of the 17th or 16th Lok Sabhas, and therefore the rules of engagement, the rules of business have to be different because the opposition's voice needs to be heard. Instead, the day after the leader of the opposition spoke, almost half of his speech was expunged. I mean, what is the point of someone making a case which may be critical of the government, and that's the job of the opposition. The job of the opposition is to be critical of the government, to ask questions of the government. If all of those portions are going to be expunged, then doesn't it play into the opposition's argument that, look, you're not sincere about making parliament work. You're not sincere about this being a level playing field, that you want to hear what the opposition has to say.
I think, Zaka, to my understanding, now Rahul Gandhi is a leader of opposition and he has to act accordingly. He is not like a normal member of parliament who can wink eyes, who can do jhappis. Now he has to follow rules of the parliament, right? So if he will keep showing photos which is not allowed under some rule, then he can't do it, right? If he can keep constantly showing back to the chair, he can't keep doing, right? If he cannot verify a statement, multiple ministers ask, you're lying, right? Then you have to do the satyapan, you have to verify facts, you have to put facts together, right? He was not doing that, right? And if you will not follow parliamentary procedures, then you cannot crow foul later, right? That can work in your parliament. Samvidhan nahi chalega, guarantee card bharwa lenge, and then we will not honor it, right? So that can work outside, but inside the parliament, he has to follow rules and he cannot play victim later. So I think he has to realize now he's a LOP, he's not a normal MP.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, Tom Vadakan, Dr. Shama Mohammed, Shantanu Gupta, and to Ghanshyam Tiwari.